India has deployed warships in the Arabian Sea, describing this decision as a deterrent, even as the defense minister vows to catch those who have attacked ships with Indian crew members on board off the coast of India from the depths of the seas. I'm Barkha Dutt, you're with the Mojo story. India is facing a new security challenge, and that challenge is coming right off the coast of India. About 200 odd nautical miles from India came a drone attack on a ship carrying 21 Indian members as crew. Then, in the southern Red Sea, came another attack on a different merchant ship. Rajnath Singh, in a statement today while the commissioning of INS Imphal took place, vowed that the attackers would be found even if India had to search for them from the depths of the seas. However, this is a new paradigm, a new challenge for India's security considerations. Drone attacks on merchant ships is a brand new security challenge. But there is also the question of A, the impact of the Israel-Palestine war on India, and B, whether India is now being pulled into many of America's battles. Remember, the United States of America has blamed Iran and Iran-backed groups for these attacks. Iran has called this baseless. With Rajnath Singh's statement, will India be pulled even closer into the American corner as the world security paradigm undergoes a shift with the ongoing Israel war with Palestine? And also, how can India protect itself and its citizens and its affiliated flagged ships from drone attacks? There's a lot to unpack here. It has geopolitical considerations as well as seriously technical ones. And we have a brilliant panel of experts to decode what's happening both in the Indian Ocean as well as in the southern Red Sea. Let me introduce our guests on the program today. General Sharma, Rakesh Sharma is with us. He's a military veteran, also a distinguished fellow at the Vivekanand Foundation. Welcome to the program, sir. Also joining us today is Captain D.K. Sharma. We've all known him as the spokesperson of the Navy. He's a naval veteran. Good to see you, DK's boss, on the program as always. Also joining us is General Katoch, one of our favorite regulars on the Mojo story. He's with the India Foundation, a military veteran. Always good to have you, General Saab. Also joining us are two senior diplomats. Dr. Mohan Kumar is with us. Ambassador Kumar just has a brilliant new book out. Do pick it up if you haven't. Good to see you here with us, sir. And also joining us is, of course, veteran diplomat Ambassador Manjeev. Puri, always a pleasure to have you back with us. Thank you very much, all of you. And I want to get the ball rolling with what the Defense Minister, the Raksha Mantri, said during the commissioning of the INS Imphal. Very, very fierce statements, basically making a conflict that could have been America's, Iran's, Yemen, the Houthis, Israel, Palestine, our own. He said these attacks and those responsible for them, India will find them from the depths of the seas. Listen in to what Rajnath Singh said, and then we'll open it up for debate.
बहनों भाइयों, अंत में अपनी बात समाप्त करने से एक और बात कहना चाहता हूं। आजकल समुद्र में हलचल कुछ ज्यादा बढ़ गई है। भारत की बढ़ती आर्थिक और सामरिक ताकत ने कुछ ताकतों को ईर्ष्या और द्वेष से भर दिया है। अरब सागर में हाल में हुए यमवी चैंप प्लूटो पर ड्रोन हमले और कुछ पहले लाल सागर में यमवी साईं बाबा पर हुए हमले को भारत सरकार ने गंभीरता पूर्वक लिया है। भारतीय नौसेना ने समुद्र की निगरानी बढ़ा दी है। जिन्होंने भी इस हमले को अंजाम दिया है, उन्हें हम सागर तल से भी ढूंढ निकालेंगे और उनके खिलाफ कठोर कार्रवाई की जाएगी। मैं यह आपको आश्वस्त करना चाहता हूं। साथियों, भारत पूरे इंडियन ओशन रीजन में नेट सिक्योरिटी प्रोवाइडर की भूमिका में है। हम सुनिश्चित करेंगे कि इस इलाके में होने वाले समुद्री व्यापार सागर से उठकर आसमान की बुलंदियों तक पहुंचे। इसके लिए हम मित्र देशों के साथ मिलकर सी लेन्स को मैरीटाइम कॉमर्स के लिए सेफ और सिक्योर बनाए रखेंगे। कॉमर्स के लिए सेफ और सिक्योर जिस हद तक बना सकते हैं हम बनाएंगे। हम अपने लहरों के पहरेदारों को, हम अपने लहरों के पहरेदारों की काबिलियत और ताकत पर पूरा भरोसा करते हैं।
So, Dr. Kumar, in fact, let me start with you. What the defense minister there was saying is that halchal zyada हलचल ज्यादा हो रही है समुंदर में. There's a lot of action in the sea, and he also spoke about vowing to find those responsible even from the depths of the seas. Now, there are two dimensions to what's happening. There's a geopolitical dimension and there's a kind of naval technical dimension. When you look at this geopolitically, would you say that India is being dragged, as it were, more and more into this international battle, Israel, Palestine, the American corner? What do you make of the geopolitical implications of what's happening here?
So, thank you very much for having me. I certainly think we are on the horns of a strategic dilemma. I don't know if we're going to be dragged into it, but we have a real strategic dilemma. We've just joined the Combined Maritime Forces based in Bahrain as an associate member less than a year ago. And the Combined Maritime Forces has a task force called 153, which has to deal with Red Sea. Now, it is true that the membership and the actions that we take are voluntary. There is nothing binding. But I don't see India joining a coalition led by the United States, which is why we have deployed 3 warships in the region. For now, I think, Barkha, we will just do our own thing. But the question that you need to ask yourself is whether doing our own thing is enough, is nearly enough, and whether it will deter the Houthi rebels. I just want to make 3 points, if you allow me. One, I think the maritime theater is being drawn into a wider conflagration along with the land war in Ukraine and Gaza. We not only have a problem in Red Sea, we have a problem in the Black Sea, where the Russian vessel has been hit by a Ukrainian aircraft, a guided missile. And then we know the problems of the South China Sea. I ask this question especially to the defense people on the panel as to whether the Houthis are doing a Hamas in terms of drawing attention to themselves. Houthis are forgotten. This is one way in which the whole thing can be brought center stage. Remember, that's why Hamas did, at least one of the reasons why Hamas did what it did on October 7th. And lastly, I would say, as far as India is concerned, the implications are serious, as you said, because if the trade is going to be hit and if the oil tankers are going to be hit, then I think we have a real problem, because the world economy and the Indian economy is just recovering from a post-COVID situation.
This is very interesting. And before I open this up, briefly define this dilemma. You say that you don't see India consciously, overtly going to the Indian corner. You see India doing our own thing. That is our stated position. But willy-nilly, we are going to be identified with the American corner. Now, look what's happening right now. The Americans have blamed Iran. Iran has said it's baseless, right? But we are being pulled into a conflict in which, in any case, we are seen to have, in both conflicts that you mentioned, Ukraine and Israel, seen to have taken positions that are counterintuitive, as it were, for what the world might have expected India to take. So is it possible for us to walk our own line right now, Dr. Kumar?
I think for some time we will do. I would argue that our joining the Combined Maritime Forces based in Bahrain in the 5th Fleet last year as an associate member was actually crossing a Rubicon. Because that coalition does not have China, it does not have Russia, it does not have Iran. It has a whole lot of other Western countries. It also, of course, has Pakistan and some others. So I would argue that we've already taken a position. But I would argue, Barkha, that the more, I think it's part of my book, and I don't want to advertise my book here, but really one of the things that I argue is, as you become a serious stakeholder in the world and in the multilateral system, you need to really come out of your comfort zone. You can't be forever sitting on the fence. So I would argue a time will come when we will have to take that decision. For now, I think we will do our own thing.
Very interesting. How long can India walk this very tightrope sort of wire of independence? Before I come to the sort of geopolitical questions raised by Dr. Kumar, Captain D.K. Sharma, can you explain to us what's actually happening? What is the significance of these 3 warships deployed as deterrent? Do you remember a time in recent past when such a move was made. You're now dealing with a completely new order of security challenge, drone attacks, right? One reportedly 217 nautical miles from Porbandar on merchant ships with Indian crew. I mean, this is like, how do you even war game for this? Captain DK, please go ahead and explain to us what's happening.
Okay, good evening, Barkha, and good evening to all my fellow panelists. Sir, I would say, Barkha, the whole thing becoming very complex. To start with, I will throw some light on Ops and Gulf, which started in 2019, where the energy needs of the country were coming out from the Persian Gulf. We had a situation that a ship and was deployed over there and is now there 24/7 for the last 4 years. Before that, when the anti-piracy started in 2008, after that, that has not looked back. Indian Navy has been committed there. And as the ambassador is bringing out, we have recently joined the CMF. And that was only, the charter was anti-piracy. But this new angle which has come up, and as you have brought out, the attacks started from Houthi rebels from land. That is when the ships were coming into the Suez, getting into the Red Sea, and then turning, coming towards the Arabian Sea, traversing through the Gulf of Aden. That is the time when they were attacked from land. But now this attack, which has come 2 days back on MV Chemplast, which was carrying crude from Saudi Arabia towards New Mangalore, this has happened mid-sea, 400 nautical miles southwest of Gujarat, which is absolutely, if you plot it on the chart, it is a no man's land. It is outside my EEZ. It is a thing to worry. And rightly so, the RN has said that we will have to, first, we have deployed the top of the line destroyers, which can take on any threat. Plus, the surveillance has been intensified, which means that P8Is, maybe the Sea Guardians, and all other Dorniers and various other aircraft will now keep an eye 24/7 on the trade, the white shipping, which is moving out. And you see, Barkha, the US-led Op Prosperity Guardian, which is happening inside, that means in the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden, that is already crowded with ships of various countries, US Navy plus a few more navies. My problem is, as our Rakshamatri has said, we are supposed to be the net security providers, the first responders in our, and this is our area of responsibility, the Indian Ocean region. So any traffic getting disturbed here or getting threatened here is a cause of serious concern. I must, take your attention to the high risk area, which was declared by the world at large when anti-piracy had come right next to our shores. That is a time when the insurance premiums for the cargo ships went very high. So that means everything had a premium attached to it. And Indian Navy worked relentlessly, diligently, and pushed that area back. The HRA, the high risk area for the shipping, was pushed as close as 100 miles from Socotra. But now this new threat, again, it is coming and attacking the trade and the energy needs.
Captain DK, what is the immediate impact, briefly, because I want to go to General Sharma then. What is the immediate concern for India?
Immediate concern for India is that if the slocks are disturbed, the whole shipping will have to be rerouted from south of African continent, that is rounding the Cape of Good Hope, which means 40% increase in the time as well as the fuel cost, and hence the whole thing will inflate. The cargo movement will inflate, and also, how do you cater for the energy needs which are coming out of the Persian Gulf? They have to come. There is no rerouting there. So ultimately, we will have to secure these lines, and we have put out the ships, and India has the assets, has the will, and as the RM says, it will be done. Just wait for 2-3 more days, and as such, the Maersk shipping has started entering from the Suez Canal, because there is a guarantee given by the US Navy that you please come, and then we'll see. And when they exit from this side, you will have Indian Navy.
So this takes me in a way, joins the dots with the question I put to Dr. Mohan Kumar. Is India being, in a way, pulled? I don't want to use the word pushed. Pulled into the US corner because of geopolitical developments that are taking place. Let me bring in General Sharma, then Ambassador Puri, and then I'll come to General Katoch. General Sharma, go ahead.
Thank you, Barkha. The fact of the matter is the sea is wide and it's virtually impossible even for our navy to cover the entire slocks. Three ships cannot actually cover the area from the Persian Gulf and right down to our ports as they come down. This ship was coming to Mangalore. Even if you use a long-range maritime aircraft and we use the ships, you cannot possibly protect it. So, and as we see what is happening in Red Sea, it is also impossible. There's 10 nation navies together, and they are not able to control the kind of drones being thrown at them by Houthis. There are 10,000 drones being downed every day, every month in Ukraine. Look at the kind of drone warfare. It has gone berserk. The whole drone system has gone berserk. Now, this particular ship, I'll just give an example. The drone hit in a place where it will not put the entire ship into fire. It was put on one side where there were mine of fire, which was drowned. This drone could have hit the tanker itself, and which could have caused grave amount of damage. So there seems to be some kind of messaging in all this. Where did the drone come from? Is it the first view drone, which means it's come from a ship which is close by and targeted it, or it's come from a mainland which is far away, say Pakistan or somewhere else? So the fact of the matter is that we have to start thinking of these merchant ships to protect themselves. You can't have the world navies to keep protecting all the ships that are going all over the place in Indian Ocean and all these areas. Should not they have their own close-in weapon systems to protect themselves?
So to that extent, do you disagree with the defense minister's statement, which basically makes these attacks very much an attack on India? Because it's happened so close to the Indian coast, because it's happened in the waters of India, as it were, the minister has seen this as an attack on us. You are saying these are private merchant ships, let them fight their own battles. Am I oversimplifying what you're saying?
Yeah, you're oversimplifying it. Fact is that the area of Red Sea, right up to Bab el-Mandeb and all the areas down south as it enters into the Indian Ocean, it is being fairly protected. But the high seas, to protect from the Persian Gulf right up to the coasts is well nigh impossible because the sea is so large. While we must do whatever we can do within our resources to protect the sea lines of communication, three ships cannot possibly cover the entire area, and also the long-range maritime patrols. We have to actually make sure that the ships get their own protection in somewhat. You can't have Houthi rebels or Somalian rebels coming in small dinges and climbing up ships and taking over ships, and out of the ship goes to some kind of a port in Somalia or in Yemen. Why can't we now start thinking that these ships need to protect themselves, because the threat has gone much enlarged what it was say 5-7 years ago. And
so this is the contrary view. This is the contrary view. You're saying that ships have to have mechanisms to protect themselves. Deploying 3 warships in any case isn't going to do the job.
Exactly. The point is the sea is so large. 3 ships, we can do fantastic amount of work, but we can't do the total work in Indian Ocean, which spreads on both sides of the peninsula. And how much ships can we have?
I think you've made a provocative argument there, and Ambassador Puri is wanting to come in. DKS, brief interjection, Captain. Briefly, Captain. Yeah.
Barkha, we have a very, very strong network of IFC, IOR, where all the information, let me tell you, each and every vessel which is now transiting in the IOR, we have the exact coordinates of that. Now, the next issue is the complexity starts when we don't know who's firing it. The problem is not that we can't keep an account of the ships. Please come to, we have the facility, and we are absolutely confident of each and every vessel. And let me tell you, as of yesterday, if I see the plot, 17,000 vessels, and we have the coordinates of every one. Who is coming, who is going, which was the last port of call, what is the next port of call, what kind of cargo it is carrying, what is the crew,
But do
which
we
flag
know where
nation
the
ship is.
drone? But do we know, sir, where the
But
drone came from? Do we know where the
Barkha,
drone came from?
this is the new challenge which has come in, and from where it started from. You see, the root cause is the Israel-Hamas war. Then there are sympathizers. Now, from where this warlike material is coming on board, and from where it is being fired, this will be sorted out. We
Okay,
have to have some time. Yeah.
let me open it up for the others. Ambassador Puri and then General Katoch. General Sharma makes the somewhat provocative argument that this cannot be our battle. These are merchant ships. They're not even India flagged ships. The ships have to have a mechanism to protect themselves. We are wading into a conflict that may be well beyond not our jurisdiction because it's right off the coast of India, but our interests. How do you see it? Hang on, sir. I need to unmute you. Please unmute Ambassador Puri. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Barkha. This is a most interesting discussion. Look, I don't want to take issue with General Sharma. I mean, I understand what he's trying to say. But, the same kind of logic was applied during the Somali piracy operations. And do you remember that Italian ship and what it did and what happened as a result? The world has kind of agreed that merchant shipping is unarmed. So, defensive, I don't know, but I'm not a technical expert. I don't want to get into this. I think the point that the ships were not Indian flagged, that they had Indian crew, fine, but they were destined to India. They had Indian cargoes. So certainly the government of India must take cognizance. Two incidents is one too many, and therefore the Indian Navy being deployed in areas which are contiguous to our EEZ is something which is absolutely, what should I say, imperative. It had to happen. There was no other way that we could have taken any other sets of views. Now, the question that you started off with, the Americans, why did it come about? It came about because they issued a statement that a ship which is Liberian flagged was, and they put out the statement that it was an Indian flagged vessel, which the Indian Navy had then to, or rather in the case of Sai Baba, the Indian Navy had to clarify that it was a Gabonese flagged vessel. So, look, therefore, the issue that you are saying is that they will come in. They are part of this entire thing. Were these targeted because these were ships going to India? We need to get more evidence, at least all of us who are on the outside. We don't know what's happening. The business of the Iranian firing, frankly, I'd like to know why should they be firing at vessels going towards India. Houthis, look, whether they are...
Are you somewhat irritated with the American statements?
No, I'm not. I take it as normal for them to be doing this. I mean, in any case,
you mean you're normally irritated with the Americans?
No, I'm not. Barkha,
No,
in my understanding, they are the hegemonistic power. They've assumed that role. So they're telling you this is happening in your backyard. I mean, come on. This is fine. And when you are in that game, you need to accept it and not accept it with rancor. Just accept it the way it is and do your own thing. That's important. Now, these are areas which are critically important to us. I liked what was mentioned by our former naval spokesperson, that we've developed a fair amount of strategic inputting, etc. in the region. We have to take care. The Arabian Sea is absolutely critical for the Indian economy. There's no doubt about that. But, look, we are a large trading player. We are a large importer of oil. Whole lot of our trade flows through this particular rate. So, we have to be not just mindful, we have to be extremely mindful of all of this and, do what we can. Now, fortunately, the Indian Navy and our entire maritime abilities are quite significant. And yes, we need to take action because we also need to signal that, hey guys, whatever is your war or not, Indian shipping, goods destined for India, no, they are not easy meat. That will not be allowed. We did it during the Somalian anti-piracy operation. And I think to in large measure, we were successful. I used to chair the UN's committee dealing with this matter. And we were very successful in getting many others, the Europeans, NAV4, the Americans and others to join forces. So it is something on which there is experience. There are things. And I hope the message will get loud and clear to anyone who's doing it that, look, lay off India. The rest, well, let's see what happens.
Okay, Ambassador Puri, General Katoch makes the point that the Americans are behaving like the hegemons they are. That's the reality. No point getting rankled. Let's focus on our own security. But Ambassador Kumar briefly alluded to the fact that we may not be able to sit on the fence too much longer as we emerge as a major power. What's your take, General Dhruv Katoch?
Thank you, Barkha. Barkha, I think India has already taken a stand. You see, the question is not that India is going to be aligned with either the American bloc or the Russian bloc. We will work with the bloc where it suits our interests. And as far as the Indian Ocean region is concerned, or the Indo-Pacific is concerned, it suits ourselves to coordinate our activities with the United States and the Western powers. And when it comes to the continental shelf, when it comes to what is happening in either in Afghanistan or in Pakistan, or the war in Ukraine and Russia, it is a totally different kettle of fish. There we are not going to align our interest with the American interest because they don't align. In fact, they're totally divergent interests. So India will still align itself with those powers where Indian interests are served. Let me put it that way. And in the Indo-Pacific, I have no doubts, because shipping is so important to us. We will align with the United States and with the European powers to ensure that those shipping lines remain open. That is basically what the function of the Quad was. And the Prime Minister repeatedly makes that statement, free and open shipping.
But the Quad has never been seen as a military alliance. You're saying it's a strategic alliance, and to that extent, we've already taken our side.
Yes, but you see, the question of the Quad, you are absolutely right. The Quad is not a military alliance. But please understand, military exercises have been carried out by India with each and every member of the Quad, either in groups or separately. For this to become a military alliance is simply like putting on an electric switch. You know, there's a switch behind me. I switch it on, the light is on. That's all that is needed for a military alliance. All the spade work has been done. But India is not in a military alliance, that is true. So I think for us, it is vitally important, as said by the earlier speakers. You see, we are badly impacted, not because Camp Pluto has been hit or Sai Baba has been hit. Those are minor issues. The larger ramification of that issue is, should it lead to a bigger war and all shipping ceases in the from the Gulf, then I think India is in very serious trouble. Now, as far as this particular instance is concerned, it is unacceptable. I totally agree with the Raksha Mantri when he says an attack on these ships is an attack on India. I've got no doubts about it. It's an attack on India. Sorry.
Go ahead. No. I was just processing your very strong statement. It's totally different from what General Sharma has said. You say this is an attack. This is an attack on India.
I'll explain
go ahead.
It. Yeah. Now, you see, when we are looking at, I just lost my train of thought. I'll get it back. Yeah. When we are looking at, when we are looking at these attacks, one, why should Iran do it? Iran is a friendly country with India, and they've just given us that access, that visa-free access onto their country.
Yeah.
But then mistakes can be made, and the Houthis have done it. Now the Houthis are aligned with the Iranians, and the Houthis can't do it without Iranian help. So I don't think any other country, like you can say Pakistan or Afghanistan or somebody, will do it, because the risk to them is too great.
But you do believe that this is an attack on India. You are maintaining
an attack on India.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
One more point I want to make.
Yes.
You see, regarding protection by the naval ships and getting the merchant ships to protect themselves. Now, you may have a 2 or 3 rifle, gunmen or what have you, to guard against piracy. That's a fair one. How are you going to guard against a drone strike? One, how are you going to detect that drone? You require radar coverage. And once it comes in close, how are you going to destroy it? A naval warship can do it. Are you going to equip the merchant ships the way you're equipping a warship? Then they become warships. Then there are no more merchant ships. So defending against a drone attack by the merchant ship, I think, is not possible. But But just one more sentence. But what can happen is, if we know the source where that attack came from, then we can sort out that country. That is well within our capability. If it has come from a ship, we can destroy that ship. That is why the 3 destroyers which are there,
Yes.
they will come into play.
Yes, I think that's a very important point, that we have missile destroyers that are in deployment. And General Katoch, General Sharma, let me take this to you first and then to Dr. Mohan Kumar. I know DKS, you had your hand up. Just give me
No, I'll just say.
Okay.
I'll just say one thing. It is an attack on us because 90% of my trade and 80% of my energy needs are flowing on these slocks. I just cannot have any interruptions there. So this has to be taken very, very seriously. I mean, there is no way we can, even ignore it for a second. Everything depends on this.
Yeah. And if everything depends on this, General Sharma, how do you then make the argument that to some extent you have to empower these ships to fend for themselves because they're private ships? Let me bring you in. You've heard what General Katoch and Captain D.K. Sharma in particular, and even the ambassadors have said, this is an attack. It's not just near India. It impacts India's energy needs. It impacts India's supply lines, right? This is a message to India. This isn't some private war going on coincidentally very near our coast. General Sharma, please react.
Thank you. Thank you, Barkha. It's veterans divide and rule. The fact what issue I was bringing out is that if there are 17,000 ships who are which Captain DK has said, how do you protect 17,000 ships when you don't know where the attack came from? The fact of the matter is that the first person view drone, which 10,000 of them are flying at any one time in Ukraine, which are, small little thing, can hide anything. It can be taken off from one small shipping vessel, and the flotilla, Chinese flotilla, 400 ships around there. How do you control who's fighting? And it is not available on a radar. It is not the Shahid 136 which the Iranians have. It's not the Bakhtiar drones which the Turkish fellows have. These are small drones which are flying much below the radar coverage. How do you protect against such kind of things? The whole concept of threat has changed. This concept of threat doesn't mean that it requires. I agree that we are hurt maximum. We must go all out and do whatever protection we can do. But whatever we can do, the adversary, or whoever the adversary is doing something which is beyond the control of finding out where the threat is coming from. If it is a first-person view drone, then you can't actually catch hold of it. If you can't catch hold of it, it is every naval ship has got what we call close-in weapon systems. These close-in weapon systems are meant for such kind of targets to be, such kind of threat to be destroyed. Why can't we have it? If we recollect, at one good day, we decided to have air marshals in aircrafts which were carrying guns. Can you believe the air marshals are carrying guns to protect against hijacking? When the aircraft can do some kind of self-protection, why can't the merchant shipping also decide to do some self-protection? What the Indian Navy can do is actually most advantageous. But you can't say 17,000 ships can be protected at any one time passing, even if you know where they're transiting across.
Let's open this up. You've made one very important point. We just don't know where this drone is coming from. It's a new kind of warfare. But we have to adapt technically to it. The whole world does. That's the first point. The second point, Dr. Mohan Kumar, to General Katoch's point. This is an attack on India. Captain D.K. Sharma agrees. It's an attack on Indian interests. Is it time? There's going to be a lot of pushback. You say you've made this argument in your new book. Is it time to acknowledge, as General Katoch says, India's chosen a side? India is on the American side. And that argument doesn't fully add up, because in the Ukraine-Russia Russia invasion of Ukraine, India did not take America's corner.
No, I would hesitate doing that, Barkha, because I think most of us are excited because the ship was a little bit close to the coastal waters of Porbandar. But what if the same ship which was destined for India was 1,000 nautical miles away from India? Would you still say it's an attack on India? I'm not so sure. And I think General Sharma has a solid point when he says this is an area which is 3 million square kilometers. I don't think India has the assets to really protect the entire zone. That's the problem, and that is the security aspect of it. The geopolitical aspect of it, I think we are clear now. There are two dimensions, and they intersect somewhat awkwardly for India. The security dimension is the Indian Navy gets the least amount of money from the defense ministry. I don't want to go on about that. Our naval assets are simply inadequate. Everybody knows that. Second security problem, the Information Fusion Center in Gurgaon, as one of the co-panelists said, is excellent. We have the information now. I think we will have to do a better job of detecting the drones. That will come with over time. I think we will be able to figure out that. But I would still argue India needs the help of this particular coalition. I agree with General Katoch. You shouldn't have a problem cooperating with the Americans in the maritime theater and differing with them on the question of Ukraine. That is what the foreign policy of multi-alignment is all about. You do it case by case. It doesn't mean you go with them hook, line, and sinker. I think the geopolitical dimension, I'll take 1 minute. I'm aware that others have to speak as well. The geopolitical dimension is what, it doesn't worry me, but it's something that we should keep in mind, which is the Houthis are claiming this is in response to the Israeli attacks in Gaza. They are also attacking the United States because the US is in cahoots with Israel. Would they see India as in cahoots with Israel? That's the big question. I think we have sent out mixed signals, if you like. Sometimes we have abstained. Sometimes we have said, no, there should be a ceasefire. That is in the nature of India's position. So I think you'll have to see how the security and the geopolitical dimensions intersect in the near future. For now, I think we are doing what we are doing. I suspect if China did not want to join the Operation Guardian Prosperity. France, UK, Canada, of course, has joined the US, but France and UK have said they don't want to act under the American umbrella. They would rather do it under NATO. So there are issues there. People are also interested in what signals you send out by acting uniquely under an American umbrella, is what I'm saying.
I think that's very interesting, and I want Ambassador Puri to add to that. That you need the help of the US coalition right now. But are the Houthis looking at India and saying, "Hey, these guys are now with the Americans. We've had a certain sort of complex ambiguity on Israel Gaza. Our position has calibrated over the months." Same thing happened with Russia, Ukraine, by the way, not as starkly. Ambassador Puri, go ahead. Are we seeing the impact of Israel Gaza here? What's actually going on?
Barkha, thank you very much. I am delighted that within the veterans, there was some division, because now we're going to see it within the foreign service also. I'm sorry, I just can't accept this theory of the American help. Come on, let's be clear on one thing. For us to see these particular attacks as attacks on India is one thing. From these being attacks on India, these are two separate things altogether. Okay. Now, the Houthis are firing off on all kinds of people in that region. That's what they can do. Whether it is for them to be noticed by the world or it is in sympathy with Hamas, etc., I don't know. So I don't want to jump to these kind of conclusions. We need to do what we need to do to secure our interests. We are in no position at the moment to be desperately waiting for the Americans to help us. Let's not get into that theory, and let's not jump at two little incidents which are, I don't know how to put it. I think General Sharma put it very neatly that, hit in some corner or the other. Let's not jump to these kind of conclusions, jump into the American bandwagon. That's exactly what they want. That's why they put out that statement. Come on, let's be very clear on one thing. If India is going to be the third largest economy in the world, if India is going to be the largest country in the world, the largest democracy in the world, I'm afraid just think about this whole business of standing second in row to anybody. I know this is a very tough call, and this is not the place for us to talk about such philosophical kind of thing. But on this simple matter right now about, as they said, halchal in the Arabian Sea, let's be clear, let's do what we can. There's been some amount of signaling, some amount of action. Our warships in the past have been reasonably good in protecting our vessels. Let's try and look at that, and let's not jump to all these kind of, what should I say, fairly esoteric.
I just want to say that it's a good conversation when veterans and diplomats can disagree in a convivial way. I just want to give Dr. Kumar a brief chance in case you got him wrong or I got him wrong, and then I'll come to the others. Yes.
No. I think strategic rhetoric is far ahead of the military assets that we have, frankly. I mean, you can say what you want. At the end of the day, we don't have the naval assets. And I thought I heard General Sharma and others say that very clearly. We can't possibly protect. So, look, I think there is a coalition out there. It may be American-led. We can decide to do something with France, for example. After all, we have now decided that we are going to have a Franco-Indian coalition for the entire Indo-Pacific. So try and do something with France if you're uncomfortable with America. All I would say, with reasonable emphasis at my disposal, we cannot do this alone. We need help. That's all I'm saying. For the foreseeable future, maybe there will be a point of time when we have 10 warships in the future which we can devote for the Indian Ocean region. Right now, we don't.
Let me get Ambassador Puri to briefly respond, but I don't want to hold up everybody else. Go ahead, Ambassador Puri.
No, I just want to argue with my colleague on one four-letter word called help. Yeah. Cooperate. Let's not get into this business of help, Mohan, if you don't mind. It's a world of a difference. It's not that the strategic rhetoric is way ahead of our assets. You really don't need this, and don't give space where you don't need to give space. You are nowhere in that situation as yet.
No, cooperation is fine. If you think help is asking for help is a problem, cooperation is fine. But anyway, there are sometimes, Manjeev, when we have to agree.
Okay. Your disagreement gives us food for thought. Let me actually take it around the panel. Before Captain DKS, I'm sure you've heard, you want to jump in. Again and again, it has been said, our naval assets are not adequate. We didn't prepare for this. This is not a challenge that India anticipated. Do you agree? Do you disagree that we need help? Can't do this on your own. The area is too large. You don't know where the drones are coming from. You can't do this on your own.
Oh, Barkha, I agree. The area is too large, but people must, everybody should understand the sea lanes of communication are defined. I mean, see, that's a corridor which needs to be protected. So there will be a sort of convoy system, or there will be somebody leading, or there might be ships at every 200 nautical miles. They will make sure. We have to make sure that the source from where the drone was launched, or from wherever it is coming, we have to attack that. The drones are not coming from nowhere.
But we don't know the source. But can you tell us? We don't know the source.
So that is what I'm saying, that now the intensive, the surveillance has been intensified. The assets have been put. They will do all the jobs which are required, and I don't have to spell it out. We have the wherewithal to immediately address this problem. Yes, on a prolonged kind of deployment, then comes the problem of number of assets.
I have to ask you something. You said you don't have to spell it out. But the warships have been deployed, according to the naval statement, in deterrent mode. Right? Yeah. Tomorrow you identify the drone. Tomorrow you identify where the drone came from. Will that deterrent turn to offensive?
That deterrent over there will make sure that the platform from where it was coming will be taken care of. Whether they will be, boarded, whether they will be searched, or whether they will be towed back. And investigations will be done, and we will go to the root cause, that who's behind it. You can't have attacks coming to you from, all directions. And, the expanse of Indian Ocean region does not mean that I have to, be present at every point. These are the slots. These are the highways. So these highways will be taken care of, and you will find that our patrol, whether it is the patrol from the air or physical presence of ships at a particular defined distance, which with their radar coverage will ensure that security of white shipping is taken care of.
So General Katoch, another way of putting this is a war that was distant. Israel, Palestine, Gaza is distant. Is it coming to your borders now?
Well, in a sense, if you see what is happening on the maritime front, In a sense, it is coming to our borders. Gaza was certainly not India's war.
Yeah.
Neither is the Russian-Ukraine conflict our war. They are local tribes. In both cases, they are local tribes. They are fighting amongst themselves. We are not involved. We would be happy if there is peace. But if they wish to fight and kill each other, well, who are we to tell them not to do so? If they want peace, then we can help. So that is one aspect to it. I think, to resolve this problem, like piracy can be resolved. Piracy has been put down to a very great extent. But the drone problem is going to be a very, very difficult problem. And how we resolve this drone problem, I'm not very sure as to how it's going to be done. You see, Barkha, just one military point I want to give. Captain Sharma has given the point there are 17,000 merchant ships on any one day on the Indian Ocean. It is not possible for a non-state actor, and I will call the Houthis non-state actors, to find out which of those ships is an Israeli ship or Israeli-owned ship carrying cargo to some other country. It is just not possible. So how have they hit this particular, like Chem Pluto? We know it's a Liberian ship. We know the owner is Japan. We know it is being operated by the Netherlands. But now the Russians tell us that there's an owner who is an Israeli. Now, how did the Houthis come to know? And how do they know the exact location of that ship? This is only possible by state actors. So if we can trace out which is the state actor, then I'm afraid there will be consequences, regardless of the fact that it is a friendly country like Iran. They cannot attack our shipping, whether it is Iran or Pakistan or any other country. They cannot attack our shipping. And I think that point has to be made very clear.
So that's very, very blunt. And let me get last comments on that. Are we headed towards not putting up better defenses in our maritime waters, but actually to an expanding theater of war? General Sharma, is that what you're advising against getting involved in? General Sharma?
Yeah, thank you. Now, the point here is that nowadays there are 100 ports all over the world which are actually willy-nilly controlled by the Chinese. Every container that's loaded off one of these 100 ports, including in the Gulf, are actually logistics is all owned by the logistics companies, also Chinese. They have the manifest, they know the details, they know the shipping, they know who owns it. So there is data available somewhere in the realm where all this information can be branded about here. First point. Second point, Houthis were targeting Indian ships, or Houthis were targeting ships which belong to Israel as a point of view, which is separate here. The Americans have been doing this 10 navies business in Red Sea for last month and a half. With what success? 4 drones came up in this weekend, the Christmas weekend. 4 drones came and hit, at least one hit a ship in the Red Sea. So the success story of 10 best navies working in the Red Sea and Bab el-Mandeb and down south is also questionable. If we do not join up with these navies, then what happened with MV Sai Baba? First ship to respond was an American ship, because our ships will also be plying out there. We have to coordinate. That's the point. Is if we don't coordinate, we will be in trouble into all ships flying our own flags. Now the question that you're raising is that there is trouble here because the threat pattern is today is this. Tomorrow somebody will do electronic warfare. It cause some kind of electronic damage or some kind of other things. All these science that is around, technology that is around. We have to coordinate with other people because we have not reached that level of we are moving to that end, but we haven't reached it. The coordination is essential because of the realms of warfare which have increased here. And drones, I end by saying that to find out where this drone came will be well nigh impossible. Look, remember 2 years ago, Kutch had a drone which the Indian Air Force had down. How far is Kutch from this area? So we are saying Iranians and Houthis, but we are being very goody-goody about Pakistanis. Yeah, the Pakistani chief has been visiting for 8 days in United States recently. So it could come from a mainland which is closest to that area than coming from somewhere far away. I would say that we must do maximum in sea lanes of communication to protect themselves.
Okay.
But it is well nigh impossible to protect every ship. There's 80,000 ships. They are VLCCs. Now, the very large crude carriers go on their own route. And their containers, one ship carries 22,000 containers. These are massive affairs out there. to protect each one of them is not going to be simple. It may be that there has to be some self-protection. Even now when everything is on, a ship was hijacked recently in Red Sea and taken by the Houthis. So, when American Navy and, all the other navies
Yeah.
are functioning, a ship was still hijacked, sea-jacked or whatever you call it there. The protection has to come from within as it is to come from without.
Okay, so there are two extreme ends of this disagreement in this conversation, Ambassador Puri. One that says, look, you need help. If you don't want the American help, cooperate with the French. The other is General Sharma saying these ships the first tier of defense has to be them themselves. You can't have navies of the world guarding private ships. You're getting involved in wars where you don't know who the adversary is. Ambassador Puri?
Barkha, look, let me make a few general points to you.
Yeah.
The question of coordination, I think it's absolutely implicit. Nobody is saying people will not coordinate. Even during the anti-piracy operations, people were coordinating. So, coordination, cooperation, and let's leave out US or France with anybody who's around there. That's a no-brainer. Everybody will do, we will do, others should also do, because we also bring assets which others can take advantage of. That's one side of the story. The other business about, merchant ships doing the sea marshals, I don't know about that. Okay. There's well settled international law that these are vessels which are unarmed. There are so many other implications to all of this. What does defensive, etc. mean? I don't know the answers to all that. You can't protect every single vessel as such, but you can certainly protect areas, regions, as was mentioned to you, the sea lanes and so on. And that was done in the past. Now, of course, drones is a multiplier technology. It will make it that much more difficult. But come on, if the adversary has produced the multiplier technology, the other side will also produce the defensive technology, the deterrent technology. It will take time. But look, at the moment, these two things, it was necessary for us to take them as attacks. They are not necessarily attacks on us. We need to step up, not be very sanguine. It's not our war far away. No, the Indian Ocean region, and more than that, the Arabian Sea is important for us. Step up your vigil. Do what you can. If by any chance these things happen, you must take action in coordination. Perfectly fine.
Okay.
But, let's leave it at that.
Dr. Kumar, briefly before I give Captain D.K. Sharma the last word, if you want to come in.
Yeah, yeah. I'm scared of saying anything further provocative. But anyway,
No, please do. Please provoke us.
Let me do that. You know me. Look, the United States was providing a global common good for a long time, which is keeping the sea lanes of communication open. Nobody can question that. I personally think there has been a decline in the US power. Everybody knows that. And therefore, it is becoming difficult for the United States to really make available this global common good, which is keeping the sea lanes of communication open. It's not possible for them to do it. I personally think there is no alternative to this whole area being divided into zones. Obviously, in the vicinity of the Indian coast, the Indian Navy shall rule the roost. Nobody is questioning that. It is for the Indian Navy to protect, let's say, 200, 300, 400 nautical miles. All I'm saying is it's not possible for India to do it from the Suez Canal to the Indian Ocean or Porbandar. That's all I'm saying. So we need to have a system in place. I think it was in place even during the Somali. So Manjeev is right. We did have that. But you're not dealing with Somali pirates anymore. The Houthi, that seemed like a walk in the park compared to what the Houthi rebels are doing. They are throwing unidentified, unmanned drones. Ballistic missiles is what Houthis are throwing at ships. This is not a joke. And that is why I think it is important now for a group of countries which have a similar view, and I think we have a similar view with some countries, including France, United States, etc. After all, what is the Quad all about? It's about keeping the sea lanes of communication open for trade, commerce, etc. So all I'm suggesting is extreme coordination. I withdraw the word help if it offends anybody, but I think we need cooperation in order to solve this issue.
Okay, I think let me give the last word to Captain D.K. Sharma. General Katoch also made this point that we're not dealing anymore with non-state actors necessarily. I think that's something we can all agree on. We don't know, but equally we don't necessarily know that we're not. Are these the Houthis? Is there an Iran, footprint? Is there a Pakistan angle? We simply don't know right now, right, Captain D.K. Sharma? What would be the priority of these warships that have been deployed without, talking anything operationally? What would be their priority?
Priority will be, Barkha, first to sanitize the area and probably start some kind of convoying so that whatever trade is exiting or entering. You see, what Sir is saying, Master Kumar is saying, is absolutely, I agree with him, because the Americans and all the coalition forces or whatever comes under Operation Prosperity Guardian, is looking after when you enter the Gulf of Aden and traverse through and are moving towards the Suez and towards the Mediterranean. But once you come out, there is a threat which has shown its head over here in the Arabian Sea. So there I am saying that Indian Navy now has sent the destroyers. So they will look after this part of the sea lanes, and inside the other forces, the US forces, the French, the UK, and I'm sure all of you have seen the maps. There are at least 30 ships over there who are, and they are the restricted waters. It is very difficult, and you have land on both sides. So the attack can come from anywhere from there, so they have to be more vigilant. But now, since the destroyers are going to be here, and they have radars, they have their own helicopters, they will have the maritime patrol aircraft on top, and they will have control over the situations. I'm 100% sure that we will have a handle over the situation in next 24 to 48 hours, and I'm sure there will be no attacks. Mark my words, because we know our capabilities and we know how things will now pan out. And of course, cooperation will be there, coordination will be there. The Central Command is there, the US Central Command is there. A lot of assets are over there. So it is all, I think it's all happening in tandem, but not being, propagated outside that,
that limited tactical cooperation. Yes. I think that's pretty well summarized and something we can all agree on. We leave it there. Watch this space, as they say. It is either way, no matter where these drones came from, there are going to be geopolitical consequences. This is not a joke. I think we all agree on that. We simply do not know the scale of the threat and the origin of it as well. Until we know that, we probably won't know a lot more. Leaving it there, gentlemen, General Katoch, General Sharma, to Dr. Kumar, Ambassador Puri, and Captain D.K. Sharma. Thank you so much. And to our audience, thank you for watching. See you tomorrow. Mojo Story has always made a commitment to its viewers to go to where the story is. And as you can see here, we are at the epicenter of the Israel war on Gaza. We are right at the front line, about 1 mile from the Gaza Strip, as the Israeli military gets ready with its tanks and its gunners to begin its final frontal assault that will take troops into Gaza. As we said, we are not like other organizations. We believe in giving you all sides of the story objectively and as much as possible from the ground. And that's exactly what we're doing here, covering the biggest global story today from the epicenter of the war zone. So please, we need your support. Support us, become a Mojo member, subscribe to us, spread the word, and thank you for your support.